Welcome to Shom Machshav on the Daf. We're holding in Zevachim Daf Samech Zayin. The Gemara Amud Beis brings us a few Mishnayos in Maseches Kinim, and in regard to the sugya, does Oila Sahiv turn to be Chatos? The Mishnah Maseches Ovis, Perek Gimel, says, Reb Elazar ben Chas v'Oimer Kinim u'pischei nido hem gufei halachas. Kinim is what's called gufei halachas. Rav Adi Martinur explains, that's Ikar Torah Shebal Peh Shemekablim Alei Eschar. Most reward goes on learning the Inyonim of Maseches Kinim. And the Mogenovas there, the Tashbitz, goes on in Harichus to bring what is Kinim. Says Kinim is a very complicated Masechta. It's so complicated, he brings different examples. Because the whole idea of Kinim is when you have birds that are mixed up with each other, as we see in our Daf, and mainly Mishnahs with no Gemara, only a few places in Shas, the Gemara discusses it. One of the places he quotes our Gemara and Gemara and Zevachim. But he says, what's the idea that Maseches Avos tells us? That that's considered to be Gufei Halachas? Because in Tzrichim Shkida G'doyla, you need a lot of focus. You have to learn very hard in order to understand Maseches Kinim. You have to put in a lot of effort. So that's why it's considered to be Gufei Halachas. And he says, how does Masechta Kinim end? Masechta Kinim ends with the words, Rav Shimon HaKash Shoimer, Ziknei HaMa'oretz kol zman she'maskinim daito mitarefes aleim. Shneimar masir sof aleim moni mitabs kinim yikach. HaMa'oretz, the older they get, they lose their mind. Aber Ziknei Torah kol zman she'maskinim terosim misashavas aleim. Ziknei Chachamim, the older they get, so the das becomes stronger. Why? Because Maseches Kinim represents the idea of the oimek hadas, that a person has to go and be focused and learn in order to understand this Masechta. So the ending of the Masechta tells you this, to be Chachamim, that they're the ones that are training their mind so much. The older they get, the greater is their mind. And this is the big milo of Maseches Kinim that we're oisik here in these sugyas. Rabbi Yo Gutmacher wrote an Agdoma to the Sefer of his son. The son wrote a Sefer Maseches Kinim called Ken Mifureshes. So he says that learning all Inyonik Karbonon is a big Inyan, but there's this special Milo in Maseches Kinim. So he says, I'll tell you three milos that we have in dealing with Kinim. Number one is, we know there's three different types of Karbonis. There's animals, there's birds, and then there's Menachas, which is flour. Always a person should choose the Derechim Tzois, the Beinoni. So the oifers, the birds, that's the middle carbon. It's not the animals, and not the mincha. It's something in between. So that's why you should be oisik in kinim, which is the middle carbon. Another nekuda is the many karbonis, except the korban tomit, a person doesn't necessarily have to bring it. If a person didn't do a chet, there's no korban chatos, there's no korban asham. A person doesn't have to donate oilo shlamim. By kinim is things that a person cannot avoid. Anybody who gave birth has to bring kinim. A woman who's a zava has to bring kinim. So it's something which is part of the requirement of Adam Yisrael. That's why it's a korban which is maybe more lemaise than other korbanos. And the third thing he brings, the Medrash tells us that Am Yisrael are very similar to birds, very similar to doves. And one of the nekudas that he quotes from the Medrash is Ma'yoina zu poshetet savar l'shchito kach Yisrael. The same Ma'yoina allows itself to be shechted, also Am Yisrael the same way. So he made the Kinim, which speaks about birds, and Am Yisrael is similar to the birds. That's why the big mile of learning Maseches Kinim, which is similar to Am Yisrael. And he goes on and says, that's the reason. He says, Maseches Kinim, you know what's unique about Maseches Kinim? We speak about all kinds of very far-fetched scenarios, as we'll see in our Gemara, in our Sugya. Kinim that got lost, and the Kohen doesn't know what happened, and the woman doesn't know what happens, and how do you get to all kinds of different scenarios? So this is different than the entire Shas. The entire Shas, we see small things, very short, and includes a lot. Here we're going to speak about all these details. What is the reason for that? So he said, Pshat is Rebbe and Rebbe Shua is the Tano of Maseches Kinim, as the Gemara is going to say. They found a mitzvah shashuim d'fnei Hashem levarer ulelaben mitzius rabois. They wanted to speak about this Inyan so much, because of these three reasons, the Maseches Kinim is so special, so unique. So now this daf, going into the next daf, speaking about Maseches Kinim, is the big mile that we have to be oisik in this Masechta. Anyone who wants to join or sponsor the Shom Machshav Shiurim, please email shomachshav@gmail.com.